Coach Haggadone from Northwood University. Welcome to the BCAM podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
So we're so excited to have you at the clinic, and we know your topic is culture. Can you give us a little preview of what you might be talking about today?
Yeah, well, a little bit about me. This is my 11th year attending BCAM, so I was a high school coach before I was a head Division II college coach and kind of climbed the ladder, luckily. And with that being said, my biggest thing today is just to connect with all the high school coaches. So I've come for a lot of years, and sometimes, college coaches tend to talk about having, a bunch of managers and using a shot clock and all those things that don't necessarily always relate. So My biggest thing is helping coaches enhance their culture, and it's going to be 15 minutes a day. So something and activities they can do within 15 minutes. So obviously it fits within their time and budget and all that.
Right. Great. So we have an aspiring head coaches program at BCAM, and one of the things we talk about is developing a philosophy, developing a mission. Can you tell us a little bit about how you went about developing your philosophy or your mission?
Yeah, it's a great question. I was super fortunate. My current athletic director was my former predecessor, so the head coach before I was, and I was his assistant for 4 years. So he had already created a really good culture at Northwood. I just came in again to enhance it. So that's a little bit what I'm going to talk today about, is just taking what you want your program to be and enhancing it to what fits, your wants and needs. So we talk a lot about the fundamentals of basketball, triple threat, dribbling, rebounding, how to score, how to play defense. But my main mission was to come up with fundamentals off the court. So what do we want Northwood women's basketball to look like in the locker room, when they're in class, when they're out and about at the store and they see Northwood women's basketball across their chest? How do we want our program to be represented? So we came up with core values. We live those and talk through those every day. 2 of them being communication and selflessness, and those are the 2 that we hone in on the most, and our girls take the most pride in. I could talk for a long time about both, but
tell us a little bit about communication.
Yeah.
How do you go about teaching a young athlete to be a high-level communicator?
I firmly believe you have to teach it. Girls aren't just going to communicate, or boys, at the high school level. You come in and say talk, and it's like, okay, I can say ball if I'm on the ball. But in order to be an effective communicator, you have to be able to learn how to communicate at a high level. So we always start from the ground up. Luckily, I have a veteran team this year, so it's been less talk on the communication piece, but my first year we had to really hone in on it. And it was first, just tell me where you're at on the floor. So are you in the gap? Are you in the help? Are you on the ball? What are you doing, right? And then once we got really good at that, I was like, okay, next level, now use a name. So I'm in your help, player A. I'm in your gap, player B. So using a direct name on a pass, all those things. And then the even further level communication is talking when you're on the bench, talking when you're in line, talking through everything that is going on the entire practice or the entire game instead of just in moments.
Yeah, and you see those skills go from on the court to off the court too.
Yes, yeah. So another piece to the communication is open door policy as a coach. I want my players to come talk to me. So if they're struggling in class, if they're struggling with, mental health, if they're struggling with anxiety, if they're struggling with, a concept that I'm teaching, I want them to be comfortable enough to come talk to me so that we have an open door to where, hey, I might challenge you a little bit if you don't, understand, but I'm able to communicate with you at an effective level so that you can understand.
Okay, great. One last question. If a young coach who wanted to have a long, distinguished career came to you and said, what does it take to coach? What kind of advice would you give that young coach?
Question. Well, I am one of those people. So obviously in year 12, I think it is, in coaching in general, I've learned this job is extremely hardworking. You have to have a strong work ethic, and you have to love basketball. Because if you don't love basketball, it's really hard to show to your players to love it every day. And for me, growing up in a basketball family, wanting to play basketball all the time after I graduated, I missed the heck out of it. So getting back into coaching was a passion of mine, just to help embrace the love of the game and get girls in this generation to love basketball. And that's essentially what I do.
Awesome. Well, on behalf of BCAM, we can't thank you enough for not only spending time at the clinic with us, but also on our podcast. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
My name is Dan Young. I am the Executive Director of BCAM, the Basketball Coaches Association of Michigan. We are the largest coaches association in the United States. We believe that better coaching always matters. It's a really difficult time to be a coach, but at the same time, it has never been more important time to coach. We couldn't serve our coaches without the support of our sponsors: Rawlings, Huddle, Shoot Away, United Dairy Industry of Michigan, Ballogy, Game One, Baron Rings, Coaches Insider, Gatorade, and the Detroit Pistons. We encourage our members and listeners to support those who support us.